We wouldn't have to hit some of the brick walls we hit if we'd have just listened to Mama. Because Mama loves us, and she tells us those things we need to hear. This woman knows and fears God. Our argument this morning will be based from chapter 31, verse 10 through the end of the chapter, and I'm not going to read all of that. You read it in your leisure. I just want to extract a couple verses, verse 28 and 29. Her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women have done excellently, but you surpass them all. I think that passage kind of surmises what I want to talk about this morning, and it's just 3 words. Bless you, Mom. If your mom is here with you today, just turn to her and say, bless you, Mom. If she's not, turn to her mother and just say, bless you, Mom. I'm happy to have my wife with me. She's a mother, obviously, and we have our daughter, Sophia, and this is her first Mother's Day. And we are so proud of her. She is making some significant headway growing up and becoming this woman that this writer talks about in Proverbs. There's a lot this writer has to say, and as I told you, we're not going to go through all of it in your leisure. Read it and meditate on it. But it's not ironic, but kind of nice that while we're in this wisdom series, we wind up on Mother's Day, and it talks about a mother of wisdom. That's what this is all about. When you sum it all up, it talks about a mother of wisdom. And just like someone said earlier, whether you have children or not, if you are of the female persuasion, you are a mother to someone. Someone looks up to you. So don't feel like you're not a mother, because you are. In the 4+ years that I've been here in Midland, Texas, and my association with the Stepping Stone Halfway House, I've seen a plethora of men. And that's just a big word to say a lot. A lot of men have come through there. And invariably, most of those men have called Miss Connie Mama Connie. Now, Mama Connie didn't give birth to all of those men over there. But all of them have watched her, and the wisdom and the characteristics that are displayed here in 31, and they've concluded that she's worthy to be called Mom. Not because she has nice things to say all the time, because when they would ask her questions, she would tell them the truth. Amen. In love. Because some of them would bring some pretty radical women there with them and say, Miss Connie, this is who I'm dating now. And she would tell them at a later time, you might want to reconsider. That's what a mother's love does. A mother doesn't tell you what you wants to hear. She tells you what you need to hear. That's wisdom. Her desire isn't to hurt you, but sometimes she has to hurt you in order to help you. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, and a mother is a friend. We recently took a trip to Houston, and we had to bury a couple nieces, and we took some time off to just take some time off. We got up I believe it was a Thursday morning. We were going to have lunch that day with my good friend, Dr. Steve Richard, little short guy, mouth of the South. And we got up that morning, and since we were going to have lunch with Dr. Richard, we decided we were going to eat a light breakfast. So I wanted to introduce Susan to some of Houston's finest cuisine, Einstein Brothers Bagels. And so we drove across town to Einstein Brothers, and we got 4 blueberry bagels toasted with a smear of strawberry cream cheese. Now, if you haven't had that, you haven't lived life to its fullest. We also found ourselves with a cup of vanilla hazelnut coffee. That coffee was so good, Susan had me driving back over there the next morning. And we also had to bring a bag home so that she could have it in the mornings. But we sat there in Herman Park in downtown Houston. And it's a big, beautiful park there, and the squirrels are friendly. One of the squirrels came up and decided to have breakfast with Susan also. And she shared her bagel with the squirrel. I hope I catch that rascal. We're going to have squirrel dumplings, though. But we left there and we got on the expressway and drove through the medical center, and we turned down Cullen Street. Drove down Cullen Street to a city called Pearland. When we got to Pearland, we came to Houston Memorial Gardens. We turned right into the cemetery. And I drove to the back of the cemetery looking, trying to find a familiar spot, a benchmark. And I couldn't find it. And we got out and we looked. And I still couldn't find it. So I got on the phone and I called my youngest sister. I said, "Where is Mama's grave?" She said, "Well, where are you?" And I told her where I was. She said, "You didn't go far enough. You need to go back by the fence." So I kept her on the phone and I backed up and I went to the last row by the fence, and Susan got out and we began to walk that way, and sure enough, I found her grave right there. And I remember the last time we interred her body there. The pain, the tears. Mama. So we stayed there a moment and prayed, and I just recalled the good times we had, the love she had for us. She introduced me to drugs. She drugged me to church every Sunday. And then she drugged me to church on Sunday nights. In midweek, she drugged me to Bible study. There's nobody like Mama. The father is the head of the home, but the mother is the heart of the home. And for that we say thank you. This passage tells us a number of characteristics, but 6 of them stand out about the virtuous woman, the virtuous mom. And if I can clear these allergies from my eyes, I can read them. The first one it talks about is the way she works with her hands. Some of the mothers in 31, 20, 22, and 24, this woman reaches out with her hands to work, to help the poor, and provide for her family. Most of you can identify with that. How Mom, when you were growing up, how she took care of you, how she cooked meals for you, how she took care of your scrapes and cuts and bruises when you were all banged up. And she used her hands. I'm amazed a lot of the times when I see the women around here as they engage in various activities and things that they do to support even this family. Terry with her hands. I was thinking about Terry the other day and I said, man, God's got jokes. Terry's a diabetic and she's one of the best bakers I've ever seen. She can't even eat all that stuff she can make, and she makes it so well with her hands. And she blesses her family, not just Donald with his spreading self, but all of us with her hands. With her hands. The way she creates her home. This woman sacrificially builds a home, often unseen by the outside world, but visible to God. God sees what you do and how you take care of your home. And your husband knows. He appreciates it. Your children know. Verse 28 said, her children rise up and calls her blessed. Bless you, Mom. The third thing is the way she considers herself. In verse 22, this woman never forgets to treat herself with care. And it's important, men. Women, close your ears for just a moment. It's important, men, that you allow your women to take care of themselves, to get their nails done and get their feet done and buy nice things for themselves, and you need to do it as well. I would be ashamed. My dad used to tell me all the time, because my mother was a good dresser. She dressed nice. And he used to say, son, the reason she dresses nice is because that's my wife. She's not going to be walking around looking like anything, not when she's my wife. Men, you ought to care enough about the woman you love, that you have on your side, that you make sure that she takes care of herself and she has the means to do it. The way she invests in her marriage in verse 23. If she is married, this woman is a key to her husband's position and success in the community. There's an old saying, all of you know it, behind every good man there's a good woman. Hogwash. Beside every good man there's a good woman. God didn't create the woman to walk behind you or in front of you, but beside you. Get it right. Get it straight. And if you're still in that caveman mentality, stay after church. We're going to lay hands on you. And we'll pray for your healing later. The way she invests in her marriage. The way she speaks in verse 26. This woman speaks with wisdom and love. How many of us are hanging on the anecdotes, the comments that our mothers have made to us as we grew up? And we can still recall them, huh, Miss Patty? Yeah.
I tell them to Lydia all the time.
They're to be passed down like precious jewels. I remember one my mother used to tell me. I'm kind of reluctant to say this because I'm not sure Clayton is behaving today, even though it's Mother's Day. But I've always been a pretty fair eater. I just have a love for food. And my mother used to tell me, son, you better enjoy that bacon because it ain't going to taste as good when you got to pay for it. I just remember some of the things that she told me. And I don't eat a whole package of bacon anymore. Mama was right. So she speaks wisdom. She tells her children the things they need to know to develop, to become the children they need to be, to leave a legacy. A lot of us are here today because Mama shared some words of wisdom with us, and at some point we started to listen. and it started to penetrate the hard ground of our heart. And I can look back myself in retrospect and see where if I'd have just listened to Mama, Sophie, if I'd have just listened to Mama, I'd have been a lot better off. I wouldn't have had to hit some of the brick walls that I hit. I remember as a child, even though I was drugged to church, it wasn't just a church thing. My mother knew and feared God even at home. She didn't just show up on Sunday morning and play church. Some of you are old enough to remember the old Victor high fidelity record players.
Oh, yeah.
Where they spend, oh, Bruce, you're telling your age. But they had the old 78 RPM albums. And it was not uncommon for us to wake up on a Saturday morning and hear one of those old C.L. Franklin preaching tapes. That's Aretha Franklin's father, preaching records, I mean. Mom would have the radio blasting. And we would have to get up and clean the house. And we would hear C.L. Franklin. I remember vividly one sermon he preached, and the title of that sermon was If Walls Could Talk. You're right. Uh-oh, because when he got into the meat of the sermon, it was duck and dodge time. If walls could talk, they'll tell you where you been last night and who you were with. If walls could talk. But Mama's faith was real. And she shared her faith with us. And she prayed, and she wanted all of her children to come to know the Lord and to be saved. She wanted all of the kids that she came into contact that affectionately knew her as mother to be saved. Her faith was real. I recall my sister, Nana Pearl. She sleeps now too and has made her home in heaven, but Nana Pearl never met a kid that she didn't mother. She was gifted in cooking, in sewing, and all sorts of creative arts. And she lived in a neighborhood that was a little bit below average. And even though the mothers and the fathers struggled to support their kids, Nana Pearl always had a meal for everybody. She always had clothes for whoever needed clothes. If it meant she had to break out the sewing machine and run down to Hancock, was it? Is that the fabric place? Yeah, Hancock, and get a bolt of material and make something for somebody for their prom or for some special event they were having. What's your point, Ken? Well, I'm glad you asked. My point is that you are just like Nana Pearl. There are people that cross your path, that come into your life, that you have an opportunity to mother, that most of you have already mothered. They view you and see you as mother because you give of yourself to them. Let me tell you, what's in you will come out of you. What's in you will come out of you. And God has placed this thing called motherhood in every woman. And when the opportunity presents itself, guess what, Betty Sue, it's coming out. To the neighbor's kid, to your kid, to some wayward soul, maybe to someone that comes to your job and is struggling, it comes out. And so we pause this day to say, bless you, Mom. Bless you, Mom. Bless you, Mom. One of my favorite poets, Helen Steiner Rice, she writes this: what is a mother? It takes a mother's love to make a house a home, a place to be remembered no matter where we roam. It takes a mother's patience to bring a child up right, and her courage and her cheerfulness to make a dark day bright. It takes a mother's thoughtfulness to mend the heart's deep hurts, and her skill and her endurance to mend little socks and shirts. It takes a mother's kindness to forgive us when we err, to sympathize in trouble, and to bow her head in prayer. It takes a mother's wisdom to recognize our needs, to give us reassurance by her loving words and deeds. I want you men to help me celebrate these mothers in here this morning. Would you do that? Come on now.